this is an opportunity. I know you're going through a hard thing, but don't let a good crisis go to waste. And I ran with that ball. I was able to make a lot of good changes, and I looked at it differently.
Hi, I'm Nick Warner. As a dad, a lucky husband, and as a business coach, I value people and relationships above all else. But next is winning, sustainability, and healthy culture. I've been a business owner for 25 years and served for decades as a special advisor to business and government leaders at all levels. Let's just say I've seen some stuff. My passion and my expertise are helping motivated professionals and businesses find the highest level confluence of what they want in life and business. This is what it feels like to be together at the top. Thank you to our sponsors, Scholl's Brick and Rogaski, Three Bridges Consulting, Kathy Olson at Ships and Trips, and Connect Strategies. Please welcome Brad DeWall. It's such an honor to have you with us, Sheriff. Last week, Brad took over as the Sheriff of Solano County, California, nestled in between Sacramento and San Francisco in the Bay Area. Solano is a relatively big California county, ranking 19th in overall population out of the 58 counties. Brad has been the number 2 for several years, and he's now been officially appointed as the sheriff by the Solano County Board of Supervisors. Solano Sheriff's Office is a large agency with hundreds of officers, a large and vital professional staff, including 2 large jails, and a sprawling suburban geography. Brad's talented team and the larger county family and community are looking for contemporary leadership at a critical time. The job of Solano County Sheriff is no joke. For disclosure, I'm the leadership development coach for the Solano County Sheriff's Office. I advise and coach Sheriff DeWall, his executive team, and the agency's emerging leaders on developing advanced executive skill sets and running high-performing leadership teams. Brad's ascension from deputy sheriff to the chief executive starts now, and we get to hear all about it. It's so exciting, and thank you for the opportunity to learn from you. Sheriff DeWall, where are you today? And please say hello to the people of Together at the Top.
Well, good morning, Nick, and good morning, all the listeners. I'm honored to be here and to talk and have this conversation. And I am in Fairfield, California, the county seat of Solano County.
I love it. You told me recently, and I wrote this down because I thought it was really cool. It's actually a quote. I've been here 34 years. I love the people, and I'm still the same guy, you said. You seem so excited and positive to me. Am I hearing you correctly? Is the job's so hard, but you seem so excited?
I'm not only super excited, but I'm a little nervous about it just because, one of my fears, there's a lot of anticipation for what's to come, and you don't want to fail anybody or let anybody down. So I'm nervous, but super excited.
I felt the same way before this podcast. I was saying to you guys as we were doing sound check, this is my 50th something episode, and I was pacing the halls outside the studio. I want to do well. I don't want to let you or anybody else down. So it's not the same gravity or degree when you have a almost 1,000-person sheriff's office as it is doing this podcast, but maybe nothing worth doing is ever easy, and the nerves mean you care a lot.
I totally agree with you. I think that's the point. If you're nervous, you care, for sure.
Nervous for me also makes me study more. Anytime I'm nervous about something, I'm usually really putting my all into it. Just like a test, if I study better, I feel better going into the test. So usually for me, nerves sharpens me up quite a bit, and I welcome it even if it's uncomfortable.
I'm the same way in the fact that in the conversations that I've had with the teams within the organization, all it's done is make me think harder and work harder.
It's awesome. You said to me recently also, I think they're ready to start evolving. What did you mean by that?
The team here, everybody's super motivated. I feel so fortunate to be around so many folks that want to just make a difference and improve services to the community. I think they have a feeling of they're being held back somewhat, and they want to push forward. And they see me at this time in the agency now to be able to do that, to achieve that. And they want to work together to do those things. And I think that's what they're excited about.
I love a book called Traction by Gino Whitman. One of my favorite lines from that book, Sheriff, is, quote, "Vision without traction is just a hallucination." It's one thing to sit with your leaders, your inner circle, those you're most closely aligned with, and make decisions. It's much harder to take what you discussed in that room and get it to stick in the field, to get traction with an agency your size. How will you start to get traction in the culture and performance measures you'll be seeking as a leader?
You know what it comes down to me? The first thing I think about when you make that statement is relationships. When you start talking about relationships, when we start discussing these things in our teams, and we have a lot of our different meetings where we discuss our goals and objectives, but how do you implement those things? And where it doesn't become what you just said, where it doesn't matter. But that's where I say relationships matter. And the positive relationships that we have here in the county with the county administrator's office specifically, in order to try to achieve our goals and objectives, I think is critical, because it's from those steps that we get into our board and getting things ultimately achieved. That makes the relationships that we have are positive. And in fact, I just had a meeting with our county administrator on an organizational change, a big one, some big ones actually, and it was fully supported.
Yeah. So you implement through people. And then you mentioned getting input also, and the excitement of your folks and the fact they want to move forward and they want to evolve. So you're getting lots of input. And I think I'll be involved in some of that, but your instinct to go backward and talk to your people and then bring it forward to decision makers that are your partners also is a darn good way to start getting traction for sure.
Exactly. I'm super excited about that. But like you said, when you get to this level in a large organization, what you think you know is different from what you really know, because we're so diverse. So taking that input from the teams in all the areas of the organization and having that, ultimately that shared vision to push it forward is the difference.
Given the fact that I think you started as a deputy sheriff and have now worked your way up through, the one thing I remember you talk about with a lot of gusto was investigations. Like you've worked your way up through all these positions in the agency, and now you're at the top, and now you're going back down through the agency all the way through, is my guess, to get input. How do you take that when you've seen some of these jobs yourself? How do you incorporate that kind of input when you know a lot yourself? And your statement was, I think I know, but I bet I don't.
It's so true. I actually started here, and I'm really proud of this achievement, is that I am the first sheriff to ever started as an extra help correctional officer. So I am the first since 1850 to ever achieve this. I'm very proud of that, because I feel like I started at the very entry level position and have worked hard all these years to get to where I'm at. But to answer that question, things change, things evolve, and things that I don't even understand, which is so important with meeting with your teams and understanding what their needs are, what their goals are, how they see things, and then taking those things and folding into the plans that I have or the thoughts that I have in regards to what I want to see in our overall goals or objectives. So yeah, super, super important in order to get to the best result where you get the most support from the team.
My favorite statement is team sport. And that's what you're talking about. I love it. Like, we know, Nick, team sport. I'm like, okay, let's live it. That's what you're talking about.
It's all true. It's all true. I feel like that's what's made me successful in the organization or in life, really, is that from the very beginning, that's the kind of person I am coming up. Even when you mentioned investigations, I feel like that's probably where it really took off for me, because we had a small investigative team that worked on difficult and challenging situations or cases, and we had to work so closely together on a regular basis. When I promoted to the rank of sergeant and was able to establish a strong team and get their input, create a strategy and push it forward, for me, that was kind of the beginning of where I really recognized really the true, not only importance of it, but how it got you to the end result. And from that point on to where I'm sitting now, I recognize how important that is.
I wasn't planning to, well, there's a lot of things so far I've asked you. I wasn't planning to ask you just based on things you're saying, but I either didn't know or forgot that you started as an extra help deputy or extra help correctional officer, which is quite a bit different designation training wise from a deputy on the street that would get into investigations. How did you get from the jails and extra help into that investigative unit?
When I started as a correctional officer, it was the best thing. It wasn't my intention. It was the way into the agency. I had an opportunity. Somebody took a chance on me, and that somebody I'm indebted to, and I will never forget that opportunity. That just forces me to work harder and be better. And throughout it was a 3.5-year period, I worked hard. And this organization has a program where if you're a good employee, you work hard and you want to go somewhere else in the organization, they support it. In my case, it was a deputy sheriff. And so they sponsored me through the police academy, another opportunity that was priceless for me. I don't know that I would have been able to do it without that opportunity. Just as a side note, something that we will continue to do as long as I'm here as sheriff. It creates such loyalty within the organization that you support your team, your people, and give them those opportunities. I just think that's priceless. From the deputy sheriff, I wanted to ultimately end up in investigations. That was one of my goals. I was given that opportunity, and I ended up spending between deputy sheriff, sergeant, and the lieutenant ranks about 9 years in the investigative field, and very passionate about that field.
When did you know that like this was for you. Pick whatever whether it was law enforcement or being a jailer or investigations. At what point did you realize like, oh, I'm right on my sweet spot. I really want to be doing this for a living?
How I first got interested in this business was, so I am a U.S. Navy veteran. I ended up getting stationed at Naval Station Mare Island in Vallejo. And it was there that I was first exposed to law enforcement and my first experiences. And I knew immediately, this is my calling. This is what I want to do to serve. This is where I want to be. It was there. And I made the decision. I'm originally from Minnesota, that I wanted to stay here. I wanted to find an agency to call home. I didn't have a complete idea, but I was super excited. But I just wanted to find that home. And that's when my search began.
It's so fun. Like, for those of you on the video side, you know what I'm talking about. On the audio, I'm not sure you can see Brad's face, but it's so fun to watch you light up when you talk about those early years and finding your passion. I have a 24-year-old daughter who's found her passion. She's a professional equestrian in Lexington, Kentucky. And my youngest daughter has not, although she's about to graduate from college. And from one of my mentors, Elliot Dutro from Morgan Stanley, that we interviewed, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago, to just people I trust and respect. And I think my own experience now, especially as a coach, if you can find what you love, it just changes the game. And that, I mean, I think that's so much of the path to life. Like, marry somebody or partner with somebody that you love, that you're at a level 10 relationship with. And then if you can just find something that you love, the rest will probably take care of itself. It's certainly true for you.
It's definitely. And I think throughout this journey in my career, I feel like I found a niche or a passion for wanting to evolve things, make it better. I don't know how you want to coin it, but at the end of the day, I feel like that's what's ultimately, I guess what I call it is visioning. I feel like I've always had vision and I've always been able to see how you could change or make things better and our service better. It's something that's always driven me to achieve the next level.
So much fun. I'm just going to come back to it really quick. It strikes me as a quote, but then you just brought up a version of it, is vision without traction is just a hallucination. So your challenge is to get traction on these visions, which I'm sure you will. If you listen to the last episode of Nick Notes, you know I think humility is a dividing line between good and great. I love working with humble, successful people, and you and I align so well for that reason, Brad. What do you really want to work on in this next chapter and with this next level of responsibility you have? Simply put, what thing or things do you want to get better at now that you're sheriff?
So whether that's on a personal level, which, we always can improve on, or at a professional level as an organization, organizationally, to answer it on that front, what I want to get better at, there's some things within the organization that I think I want to change in regards to the structure, just because I want to make sure that everybody in the organization, like right now, we have 5 divisions and not everybody has a seat at the table for the executive management level. That's something I want to change, first of all. The second thing that I really want to get better at, and something that we're going to be moving towards, is consolidating in a community service outreach type division where we're going to be super focused on interactions with our community. So I'm super excited about it. It's going to realign different things. I've been working with the school districts. I've been working with a lot of our outreach programs, and it's going to come under one umbrella. And including in that, I also want to start personally be more engaged with our community. So I'm super excited about that. And that's definitely a direction that I want to go. I guess that's a little personal and professional, but mostly professional.
And then what about on the personal side? What do you want to get better? I've had an opportunity to see a lot of the things you're good at, but this is a big job and it's different from the number 2 job. What do you see in number 1 or areas you want to get better at?
I want to continue to improve on relationships. I feel like what I tell all the managers when I start talking about the importance of what they do is creating and strengthening the relationships that we have. And they're at all levels, right? Internal relationships in the organization, within the county, within the community. If we are going to be effective, we have to have solid relationships throughout all those areas. So for me, I've been good at creating the relationships internally, within the county, cities. Now I need to do better with the community. And I need to be out there with the community, forging better relationships, sending our message, and creating those partnerships. Like, that's what I need to do.
I use the term contemporary leadership. My premise was the county wants contemporary leadership. Your staff wants contemporary leadership. And you are certainly describing contemporary leadership in the community as well. I find that heartening personally.
Thank you.
Setting aside humility for a moment at my request, tell us what you're best at. What's your unique value proposition, Brad?
I thought you might ask me that. It's really hard to talk about yourself, honestly.
I'm asking you to. That's why I said at my request, because I know you don't want to do it. And I'm asking you to do it.
So what I'm good at is I'm good with people. I feel like I'm really good at people, whether it's just having that personal conversation, which to affect change or build on a relationship. Sometimes it's just like this with you and I talking in a room. And sometimes it's with two people. Sometimes it's with a team of people. I feel like I am good at connecting with people, but most of all through that, I'm good at listening and hearing people, listening, and really absorbing what is being told to me and incorporating into that to whatever we are doing moving forward. And whatever that's in regard to, I feel like that is a strength that I have. Honestly, I just care. I really care. And you're pushing me to the uncomfortable zone. But yes, so I care a lot and I listen and I try to incorporate that into any plan that we're trying to move towards.
Really cool. Again, contemporary leadership. You and I have talked extensively about the importance of building on concrete, starting with a super solid and aligned leadership team. What personality trait or traits do you look for in your leadership team? And what traits are non-starters for you? What are some of the values in that leadership room you're looking for and what can't you have?
What I tell anybody actually in the organization is we start talking about moving up into leadership roles. I kind of put it into 3 general classifications or areas. I always start with, you have to have credibility. You have to have credibility as a leader. You have to know your craft. You have to know what we do here. And that's like the basic foundation of being able to do your job, but then also to move up. Otherwise, you're not going to have the respect from others in the organization, especially your peers or subordinates as you move up. Second of all, to me, relationships. You have to have the credibility in a lot of cases in order to get those relationships and that trust to lead, or they won't follow you. If you have not that, you won't have anything. You're going to struggle as a leader if you do not have the credibility and then ultimately work towards the relationships. And then that's what is another foundational piece to your team and team building is having that credibility and having those relationships. And it kind of moves up as you start to advance in the agency. And then lastly is vision. That separates a lot of people. You may have the most credibility, you know your craft, you know your job, you have at least at some level relationships. It may be limited, but you have them at least within whatever your span of influence is. If you have no vision, you're pretty much topped. You're going to be able to function in your job. But as far as advancing up in the organization, I need vision. I need someone that is forward thinking, that pushes us forward. And that's kind of the separation for me. Any of those could be a non-starter depending on your level in the organization, because there's some people that can maybe have 2 out of 3 and function at a lower level. But I fall back to relationships a lot. If you don't have the relationships, you will never be a leader. No one will follow you. So it's so important to me that you can have relationships to serve.
Well, to get traction. It's one thing to have relationships that, hey, buddy, how's it going? Or give somebody a hug or a pat on the back. That's not exactly what we're talking about. It's a component piece of that, but it's having the credibility, the knowledge of your craft, and then the relationships to go have conversations with people, teams, groups, cities, labor, the board, their units to get traction on these issues to implement the vision. Without the relationships in substance, you can't get traction.
Absolutely. You're just talking to yourself.
And people won't trust you enough to give you input also.
Absolutely agree.
It's funny, you talk about relationships, and just from my own experience, I remember one particular day when I was at my desk in Sacramento, when I was running my lobbying firm, and I had somebody come in that had just got rid of their kind of big-timing lobbying firm, and he had asked me for an appointment. I didn't really know what it was about, and he came in hot. He was a guy from Florida. He was running a real estate investment trust, as I recall, and wanted some guidance around how to get involved in public projects in California. And what he said to me was, I was with this big fancy firm. In fact, I've been with 2 big fancy firms, and they have all these fancy relationships. And it's as if they can't see that I can see them getting me off the plane in Sacramento, walking me to the Capitol. They introduced me to all these important people, put me back on the plane and tell me it was a great meeting. It's not what I need. I don't need to shake hands and say, hi, buddy. I need to operationalize. I need to understand. So I thought to myself, our value is in being able to operationalize those relationships. Yeah, we're friends. Yeah, they trust us, but I'm trying to move things. Are you willing to work with me on that? Oh, no, I just thought we're buddies. I want to work with you on that. So I never forgot that. And I think having a relationship's not enough. It's the trust and the ability to get input and move the needle and move the ball. That's the beauty of the relationship. If it happens to be warm and makes it more fun to work with that person, great. But it's the trust so you can move and get traction, get that input you need where the relationships really come in.
The relationship, you have to have a positive relationship that ultimately develops that trust. And I agree completely with you. Once you have that trust and they believe in what you're doing, we've been working through a fairly contentious issue with one of our labor groups in regards to law enforcement services for this a city in our jurisdiction in Vallejo. And we've been working through it for a long period of time. And in those conversations, which have been very emotionally draining, very taxing, and we came to a point where, we're talking about language in a side letter contract. It's hard to encapsulate everything that you're being discussed in a contract with language. It's difficult and challenging. And at one point he stopped and he went, I want to try to capture the best way, but I trust you and I trust what you say. And ultimately that just got approved at the board level. And that meant a lot to me that there is that trust that is established because there's an area that's not totally outlined in a contract within a writing. It doesn't exist, but yet there's a trust established from the leadership of the labor group that they trust us.
It's a social contract, essentially, part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's shift to partners since you're on it. I'm thinking about labor unions, board of supervisors. You've several times mentioned great relationship with your CAO, county administrative officer. There's also the private sector and vendors, Sheriff, which are, for those who aren't aware, those are private industries that support law enforcement through things like specialized products like cars and technology as examples. Talk to me about the role of labor unions in particular and the way you think about your partners in labor. For me, to be honest, I've seen too many fights in places that demanded partnership, but I would love your thoughts.
My thoughts with labor unions are they can be challenging. Obviously, sometimes you're on different sides of things, but the important thing in the communication to me is what I always share openly with them is, first of all, I want them to be able to talk to me openly. I always want there to be an understanding. My mantra is, we may not agree, but I want you to understand where I'm at. I think that goes a long way. Whether we both agree or not, we're trying to come to the best result. They're protecting the labor interest. I'm protecting the organization or the county goal. And we come to some middle ground, I guess, in some cases, or at least an understanding. Sometimes there's no middle ground, but we have to come to an understanding. So it's a lot of give and take, but it is built on that relationship and that trust, because if they don't come to an impasse and you have to go through all the other steps that you have to go through, they may delay everything and may not happen at all. So super important, again, relationships.
You don't have to agree, but you have to understand. That's a version of James Clear talks about explain your why. And then Nick Warner says, also explain your why not. Explain your why not. That's what you're describing is when we can get to agreement, great. And we'll talk it through and we'll be transparent and it'll be awesome and we'll high five, but we can't always do that. Sometimes there's no middle ground. At a minimum, I want to make sure you understand.
Completely understand. Yeah. I want them to understand.
What about board of supervisors, county administrative officer? I think you've demystified the part where they're friend or foe, partners or headwinds. But what about when it's particularly hard, such as budgets declining? Then how do you think about those relationships?
So for us, here, and I imagine most of the other county, so we start with working with our county administrator's office, county government. We start having a lot of those conversations. Sometimes they're difficult conversations depending on what we're trying to achieve or what they want us to, what they're trying to take in regards to monies. Those can be contentious at times because we don't want to lose services to the community. Obviously, we have a lot of passion in what we do, and we do not want to reduce our service to the county. Fortunately for us, we haven't had a lot of that. Some counties have, and that's difficult situations. With the board, it's very challenging as you navigate those conversations with the county administrator's office in the middle, and then we have our board who has the ultimate say. And there's times when board members that meet with you in regards to your budget will even ask you, so is there things that haven't gotten to me? Are there things that haven't been approved that you've asked for that you want to tell me about?
Ooh, that's an interesting dilemma.
So that creates the dilemma, right? That's actually what it is. So navigating that is tricky. But for me, I do want to maintain relationships on all sides. Of course, I will talk to the supervisors and I'll let them know. We did ask for this. This is why we asked for that. We asked for this for this specific reason. However, in conversations with the CA's office that unfortunately they weren't able to support that request. But if you want to have that conversation, please have that conversation. Of course, then I'll go back and let them know that this surfaced. They may be getting asked about whatever position or service that was brought up at the time. It can get tricky at times. I think the first time it happened, I wasn't expecting that. I was concerned about, I don't ever want to seem like I'm undermining anybody. So
That's why I like your move to go back and close loops. I've had lots of people upset with me over the years. I, to my knowledge, never had anybody question my word ever. I'd rather have a tough conversation than have somebody go, really, Brad? Really, Nick? You're not going to share this with me after all the conversation? I like that way of thinking. I don't think that's insignificant to like run back to the source. My guess is also, I don't know a lot about your CAO's office, but what I know is good. And I think I know there's some transition as well that's been probably similar to the sheriff, like thought about, done over time, planned for, that sort of thing. But my guess is when it's a no, they will explain to you why not. And 50% of that time, you'll say to the supervisor, no, but I understand why not. We're still in discussions. And at this point, we've pulled it because we understand it. I mean, that's trust and transparency too. It can actually help you not be a battering ram, not lose by winning. We won it, but they're super pissed. We ain't winning the next one. So trust and transparency can go a long way, especially if they're explaining to you the why not.
completely true. And they do when they sit down with us and we roll out the plans and they explain it and they explain the whys. I use the examples. We went up there for a reorganization and understanding the state of where we're at financially in this county. We rolled out it's a significant change, but also taking into consideration the financial state of the county. So they thanked us afterwards for acknowledging that and not going in with these big asks, but also went into explaining all the different whys that you're referencing, Nick, to talk about all the different funding issues that are going on with state and federal funding and how they're going to have to go into more general fund, millions of dollars a year, and how that's going to impact it. We're also in a labor negotiation year and how that's going to impact it. So they walked me through all the things that they have to work through and how they felt like we were bringing forward a responsible plan to implement the change. But also, I also took the opportunity to say, but hey, here's our wish list. By the way, here's our strategic plan for the future that we really want to work towards. That's there. It exists, but we're not asking for it right now. We know where we're at.
Context matters. I applaud them for giving you the context so you could meet it with context and explain it to your team with context also. Blind is no good. We fly right into brick walls and hurt people we don't even mean to hurt. Like, can we partner or not? And there's a time and a place where I was the head sheriff representative. You know darn well I've done plenty of fighting for sheriffs, but rarely if I never surprise anybody. I've told plenty of governors, chiefs of staff, expect to hear from my bosses in the front page tomorrow. We're not happy about this, or we're calling this a jail dump for a reason. Well, governor doesn't like that. I understand, but I told you we're going to say it. We're not happy about it. Rarely, if ever, am I fighting you where you're getting surprised by it, because I want to be here tomorrow also and work with you tomorrow. And if you're sharing your contacts with me, our fights are different. Our communications are different, especially if I trust you.
I completely agree. Like, I don't ever want to lose the trust. And if I'm asked or put on the spot, particular question from one of our supervisors, I ultimately, yes, I want to go back and let them know that they're getting asked about that at the CAO level, because I don't want to seem like I'm undermining it. I always want to have that trust. I don't want them to get blindsided, or I don't want to take it out of context either.
But I don't think you'll lose trust. And I didn't lose trust by not doing what they wanted us to do, because at times you can't. Either you can't honor your agency, you have to lose with a proverbial sword through your heart. We got to die on our sword, and they'll understand. Like, I got to fight you on this, and here's how I'm going to fight you. And we're probably not going to go away on it. It is what it is. And it's a minority of times, but they also will understand better if you have that trust in the middle. Let's go back down to ground level a little bit, if you'll allow, so I can get your thoughts on stress management and how to stay happy in these high leverage jobs over a full career. You've seen so much stuff, so many things in your years as an officer and now top administrator. Tell us about the stress of the job, mistakes you have made, and what you've learned, and how you might apply your own pain and even trauma-informed leadership into creating a healthy work environment for the people you lead and love.
Yeah, when I started in this business, it really wasn't talked about, and it was looked at more as weakness if you did. It's kind of carried throughout my career. It's been a huge adjustment, I think, for folks that have been in my tenure in the business. And I feel like it's even more emphasized in a leadership role, like that if you were to seek for help, it's a sign of weakness, even at an integrated level. That definitely existed in this profession all these years, is that you always just moved on. You've seen some horrific things. You move on from it and bury it. That's how you deal with it. There's been a big change with acknowledging the trauma that we see on a daily basis, whether it's in our jails or whether it's on our street. It's something that we have to continuously work on. And it's something here that I think we have. When I started, we didn't have the resources that are there today. We didn't have chaplaincy programs. We didn't have peer support. You just had your friends that you talked to about the situation. We didn't have psychological services. If you get into a shooting or you get into a horrific event, is something that really bothers you, you dealt with it again. But now we offer, or even force in some cases, them to go to psychological services to deal with it, just because they may not want to, but they need to in order to process it. And that's an area for me and at this juncture in my career that I want to do better in, making sure that those resources exist at all levels too. I think that there's a little bit of a lapse for leaders in the organizations with getting help. We're so focused on helping others, we're not helping ourselves. And that's something that I want to improve on here, because I think there's a lot of trauma at a leadership level that is unaddressed. So that's something I want to focus on as well.
What about role of family along the way? I mean, I am attaching it to stress, but what about role of family overall?
That's a big switch too, in the fact that, we're trying to be more involved with the family and the whole family function. Whether it's just like for here, we have like a Christmas tree lighting. We invite families in, the kids, wives, girlfriends, whatever, whoever your significant other, to come in and be a family. We also want to support the family in trauma situations. Like if we have a deputy that's involved in an officer-involved shooting, what support is there for the family unit? We are trying to extend those resources out to those as well, or something we never did before. We are definitely trying to be more inclusive. And I think that's across the profession, that you're seeing more and more support, whether it's activities just to create that more team or family unity unit, so they understand. A lot of times, cops are really horrible about talking about what we do at home, which creates those issues at home, which is why divorce rates are up and a lot of other problems that occur with the family unit. So I think that creating that, like being more inclusive so that spouses and kids all understand what mom and dad do here for a living, that's the first step. But then creating those communications between them and then us extending it not just to our team member, but also to the family, helps bridge those gaps. And hopefully we, reduce some of the non-communications that are going on with the family unit.
I mean, I don't love the underlying factors that cause it necessarily, but I mean, these jobs are lives. These aren't jobs. This is like your whole life and your family's whole life. And even you coming from a military background and coming from the jail and the investigations, like for you, like it's probably generally described like a type A male, very successful, be paying attention to the whole person. A lot of people say to me in a coaching session, "Hey, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to use you as my counselor." I'm like, well, you tell me, where does the stress of the job or family or money turn into a work thing or a personal thing? Like, bring it. It's all one person. Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, we're also going to make happier, better adjusted police officers and deputy sheriffs who are better on the street, can listen better, are calmer, are probably married longer. We won't reach everybody, but that kind of mindset I just think is awesome. I mean, it matters less what I think. I think that's awesome. I really do, from the top. We're acknowledging it's freaking hard. And science and sociology have come a long way. Let's use it.
Totally agree. We can't ignore it. I think that's the point. We can't ignore it and we can't accept it. We make too many jokes about it, but it's time to face it.
I'm in to the extent that it matters. Let's talk about another issue that a lot of agencies struggle with, and I'm curious on your thoughts. Law enforcement struggles to recruit and retain women deputies and women leaders. I'd appreciate your thoughts on women and even on the importance of other types of diversity, Sheriff, such as age, ethnic, and gender diversity I mentioned in your ranks. But let's start with women in law enforcement and women in Solano Sheriff's Office.
Historically, here at Solano County Sheriff's Office, I don't know if there's been any kind of studies about it, but what I've noticed throughout my tenure here in the organization is we've always struggled to have females within the organization. We really have. I don't know why that is, why it always was. I always thought, well, deputy sheriffs, what I will say about the job is that we're out in the most rural areas, sometimes no street signs, darkness, partners 10, 15, 20 minutes away. Maybe it wasn't as appealing. And now I'm just speculating, but it's like we never really had what the city departments have had with a larger amount of women in the workforce. In the counties as a deputy, you don't see that as much. So interesting enough, though, in our correctional institutions and correctional officers here, where all of our jails are correctional officers, there's a very high percentage of females in our jails, and it's very diverse. But yeah, we do definitely have a high number of females. Now that's changed over time. I couldn't tell you the whys is why that is. Obviously, it's become very challenging to recruit in general in law enforcement over the last many years. So we're just looking for qualified candidates that will do a great job. But we have had a lot of increase with females coming into the deputy sheriff ranks. And it's been really good to see. It's definitely something that we're keeping our eye on too at this phase. But then the bigger thing is we're just trying to get people in the job.
Yeah, I think I know the reason why people aren't coming in. Liability, some of the anti-police sentiment, stress that comes with it, not the highest paying job. I mean, kind of the historical reasons why people don't come into the profession. It's an ongoing challenge and very high standards. It's hard to become a police officer in California, really hard. A lot of people wash out, as they should, frankly.
It's even getting harder now.
You mentioned silos. You didn't say the word silo, but I want to talk about this phrase, not sworn, not born. Cops are so hard on non-cops, which are referred to as either civilian staff or I think more appropriately and precisely professional staff. How do you feel about that, having come from those ranks as a jailer, as a secular siloed jailer, and now it's singing from 30,000 feet in the executive suite? How do you feel about silos in your agency, especially in the one that can develop between cops and professional staff who support them?
We battle with people feeling like they're getting treated differently. That's pretty much a common theme that's happened for years in our organization. And I don't think it's uncommon in many organizations. So here we have our professional staff, we have our correctional staff, and then we have our deputy sheriff ranks. We're 175 years old. We're one of the 27 original counties. And now we started with I always say a team of 3. And I love telling that story. But then now here we are where we have almost 600 full-time employees and then the volunteers and all of that. But these different classifications started existing and people started feeling like they're treated different. Like they're not the mission, they're not the priority. And I think it's just super important that we acknowledge that, first of all. We try to not only acknowledge it, but then try to change that perception, right? I do think that there are all these jobs here. And yes, I was in the correctional ranks and then the deputy sheriff ranks, and now here I am. We all have our role in our job. We're all part of this one team. We have the same objective as an organization. I want to make sure that everybody feels included in that and has a voice in that. One of the things that I think is super important here, and one of the things I want to even further, is we further integrate in all of our programs, because there's a lot of programs in here that don't just take a sworn, don't just take professional, don't just take a correctional officer, but we blend the units. So we have a lot of crossover and they work unified together on a team. The more we do of that, I think the better we are as an organization. But definitely something that it's always going to be a conversation. It's always going to be something we have to work hard at because people feel the way they feel. And it's something we're going to have to face.
It always made me a little bit sad almost. It's like these people's family, and we're talking about crime labs, coroners, dispatch, straight administrative budget staff, for example. Their families are also, them and their families, dedicating their entire life to the sheriff's office. Most of these people will stay there the entire time. I look out the window, we park in the same flipping lot right next to each other. We wear the same patch. We don't have the same number of stars on our collar, but the same patch. I don't like that at all. I can tell from looking at your face, you don't like it either, but that always struck my attention and always kind of bummed me out. And I hunt for it. I don't like it. I'm going to go get it. It sounds like you are, you said, together, unified, putting people together so they're working on the same teams. There's mechanical. It's not just feeling. Some of it is you're driving them toward each other in these teams physically. And so they can see it's a team. That's an interesting way to think about eroding it also and dissolving it also.
I heard from the first day I was here. I started as a correctional officer. I went in my first day. I was 22. I was a little scared. I walked in. One of the first things I heard within the first couple hours was deputy sheriffs think they're better than us. At that time, our uniforms were slightly different. You'll notice if they have this on their uniform, they're a deputy and they're going to treat you differently. And that always stuck with me and sticks with me to this day because it's always like, that has to change. We're all doing the same, working towards the same thing here, but it is constant. And then you're right. I think that it's important that we try to bridge the gap in how we achieve that. It is a lot of our programs. We have a lot of blended units.
I don't know if the executive assistant belongs at the top of the professional staff pyramid, if you will, but I know your executive assistant is really important. And I'm a big believer in the empowered executive assistant. Where does your executive assistant fit into your success model? And what advice will you give others about how to think about and partner with your executive assistant?
My executive assistant is critical. She runs my life. She schedules me. She really has obviously direct access to everything that I do. And I think one of the huge benefits is, besides that she's super talented and she has so much insight, she comes to me with, I guess what I'll say is the real talk. And she will sit with me and just give it to me straight. There's no sugarcoating it. And I appreciate that. Then I know if I made a mistake, I made a mistake. If I overlook something, I need to fix it. And she is critical in that. Plus, she helps set everything up that I do. She organizes everything. The one thing that that I've learned in my time with that is find their passion and use it. Because in my case, she came from a school teacher background and she's super organized, but she runs all my academies, my Citizens Academy, Youth Academy. She's super good with kids, obviously school teacher. I use that. And she is just so good at what she does and so passionate. And I've got so much positive from the community because of what she does. Like, she's touched out. I have a waiting list of like 50 kids wanting to come to the academy. Like, I'm going to have to create another one just because they love her. And I found it's a passion and she's good at it and I'm using it. She does so many good things, but I would say that when they have a passion, give them the latitude to do it.
That's fantastic and unique advice. Yeah, I've not heard that before. I've heard the real talk for sure. Just because the air gets thin up there and you're a powerful guy and people aren't going to tell you what you want to hear. They're not close enough to it to see it in Technicolor in 3D. So having an executive assistant who will tell you what's up is super, super helpful. What about your thoughts about how much you tell her? To my way of thinking, if you don't tell your executive assistant a lot, they can't help you because they don't know good guys and bad guys. They don't know VIPs. They don't know enough about your schedule. They don't have context to the previous part of the conversation. Are you open with, can I say the superstar's name we're talking about?
Sure.
With Chelsea? Are you open with her so she can serve you best?
She is in the inner circle of trust. She knows pretty much 99% of all the things that are going on around here. So she definitely is. I value her opinion greatly as I trust her completely. And thus, she has a lot of input into the goings on. So yeah, super helpful. I share most everything with her in regards to what's going on. She has insight, a unique insight that is very valuable.
Really cool. Especially that put somebody in their passion that I had not ever thought about and I've never heard before. I really like all that. As we're getting to the fourth quarter and kind of rounding third base here, you up for a lightning round?
Yes.
All right, you made it this far. Let's see if we can get through the lightning round. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
I'm like, no, it's almost an hour. I need more time. It's so fun. All right, technology advancements, daunting or exciting?
Exciting.
Say a little more.
We've been way behind in that. So I'm super excited. We're looking in a lot of different areas. Locally, they stood up a real-time crime center, something that I'm super excited about getting involved with and hopefully partnering with. The drone is a first responder programs throughout the country. Super excited about. Would love to try to explore that more, especially in our world. We're looking at a different company for crime analysis, something that we haven't never really done here. We've always been like, it's all about word of mouth. We're still operating in the 1800s around here. So I'm super excited about taking it to the next level as far as information flow, which ultimately, we're able to get out to our community. So yeah, technology, super excited. We're moving fast in that direction.
What do you do for fun?
So I love camping, hiking, wine drinking.
Is that a sport?
Is that the sport? Yeah, I don't know. Well, my son's into it. My youngest son is in the industry. And what's super cool about that is that he wants to hang out with me, Nick, and he talks. It's super cool. I just love connecting and having real conversation with my kids. And, maybe part of it is that I feel like I missed some of it, because I was so committed to this job and missing sporting events and birthdays and all that because of this. Now I have an opportunity to hang out and that he wants to hang out. So it's super cool and we get to spend time together.
So fun to hear about, right? This isn't as fun. I'm almost done with you. Not really, but most influential mistake or best lesson learned along the way.
Oh, wow. The best lesson that I've learned is probably from bad leadership. I think that you learn the most through adversity and you learn the most through whether it's a bad leader or a crisis situation. It intensifies your learning curve. And I feel like that's happened throughout my career. And I've learned a lot about it and mostly what not to do.
Yeah, don't do that. Best advice you've ever been given.
Don't ever let a good crisis go to waste. I was in a bad, dark time with a crisis situation, and the then undersheriff came to me and said, Brad, this is an opportunity. I know you're going through a hard thing. I'm here for you, but don't let a good crisis go to waste. And I ran with that ball. I was able to make a lot of good changes, and I looked at it differently.
You and I have some overlap in these jobs. Rob was with State Sheriff Association. That really good advice sounds like Gary Elliott to me. That's really good advice.
Spot on.
You're taking that from me. I've heard it before. It's a little more poignant when you put it that way. What are you most excited about?
I am most excited about being able to move forward programs that I've been wanting to do for years. I've also been able to not just programs, but to do things for the people in this organization that I've been wanting to do for years, that I know that they're hungry for and that they want, to the level that they are looking so forward. I've walked around the halls and they are like, we just can't wait. We just can't wait. We want to know your vision. That I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to disappoint. I'm concerned. I don't want to disappoint anybody, but it is exciting. So I'm going to grab onto that. That's what I'm going with.
So exciting. Anything else you want to share that I should have asked you?
Well, I think we'll ending with the excitement of the job. I am looking forward to the job. I'm looking forward to learning more. I appreciate the partnership that we have and friendship that I have with you and the learning that I have gained from you. And I think that you've given things a lot of perspective. I want to say that publicly. So it's been very helpful.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I love working with you. I love working with your team. I'm super excited about coming back and working with you and your team. Really proud of you. Brad DeWall, Sheriff Brad DeWall, you did a marvelous job on this podcast. Thank you so much. Thank you also to our producer, Riley Byrne, and his top-notch team at Podigy Podcast. Thank you for listening, and see you next month on Together at the Top. Thank you so much for your time. Together at the Top thrives off listeners like you. To stay connected, follow our socials in the show notes and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We will be releasing our show on the last Tuesday of every month. See you next time. At Nick Warner Consulting, we exist to coach and consult motivated professionals. I meet with you on Zoom in focused 90-minute sessions, working toward your goals and developing next-level business skill sets. My job is to add value to your organization and your career. To learn more, visit www.nickwarnerconsulting.com or call me directly at 916-765-3576.